Hey, hello. Yeah, so it's Sunday. Today the weather is amazing. I really want to go out, but maybe after this tutorial, this is my kind of weekly routine and really love doing it. So by the way, if you haven't done so, we have that the link to get this slide deck that you could do. You could get it, and this is now public. And if you want to follow to try the code inside, you're welcome to do so. And so if you're new to this tutorial, so we started like a few months ago. That we start from installing Python to some Python basics, and today we're gonna talk about something that's not so trivial. We're gonna talk about decorators. Um, so I hope that you already get some ideas about Python and the functions. That's very important because what we're gonna talk about today is based on Python functions. So I hope you get a good idea of that as well. So this tutorial is a series, so it's every Sunday 2 p.m. In UK. So you're welcome to watch it, at your home, even though it may be a different time for you. It still be, it still be live, and you can catch it. And a video will be available if you if you're busy, maybe like a certain week that you may be able to, like maybe you missed it. It's fine. You can catch up afterwards. Yes, decorators. Yeah, I like decorators as well. Like when I first heard about decorators, it's in a conference. Everybody was talking about it. That time, I was kind of like a beginner in Python. I was like, "What's a decorator?" And it sounds like magic. What are you talking about? So, hopefully today we kind of demystified it a little bit, and also maybe tell a little bit about like when you would see it and where you would see it and how to use it. So, uh, but by the way, let's recap. So what we have learned, I've already talked a little bit. I think the most important thing is that you understand functions, because today there's like a lot of decorators is, well, basically is a function. so um so yeah, like you have to know a little bit of that. Also other things about Python, the basics is very useful as well. If you have questions, you're always welcome to ask me, either by filling in the box down there in my Twitch channel, or message me via Twitter. My Twitter is also available. You can look at my details in the tweet, or you can see there's my Twitter. There's a box down there, so you can see all the news and when I gotta be live and which tutorials I gotta talk about. If you have any suggestions, you are also welcome to contact me. And so decorators. So I think, to put it in a nutshell, decorator is a function factory. Um, to begin with, of course, decorators can be used in a different way, but I think as to start, we can think that decorator is like a function factory. So what does I mean by function factory? So I have an example here. So you see that this is our code here. I would actually gotta paste it in Atom and as a script and run it later. And we gotta, there's some questions that I gotta, figure it out afterwards. So let's look at the code. So we have this greeting factory. So inside, I create a function called greetings, and I can return greetings. So function in Python is an object. So I think I've mentioned it a couple of times that everything in Python is an object. So even a function is an object. So you can return it, and then you can assign it to a variable here. So like greeting factory will return a function, and a function you can assign to other things. So let's have a look at this. So let's copy the code. That's why I like this. This is very convenient. So let me go to this page so you see my Atom. So here I have this demo.py that I've prepared. So it's kind of like a canvas that I gotta do all my demo here. So I think first of all, before I looking further, I want to see what is my greeting. So like I said, it's a function and it got returned, and I put it in a variable, and I want to see what's that variable so I can print it out. So what I gotta do is I gotta run this code. You see that I've already, oh, spoiler, I've already run it before to check whether it's working. So okay, you will see that we have some tractor jokes later. So by the way, tractor jokes is something very popular in the Python community because in the community people love jokes, because Python. By the way, if you don't know, is actually named after Monty Python, a famous comedian group. So yeah, people in the Python community love jokes. So especially tractor jokes, we have lots of those in the conferences. So yeah, it's kind of a tradition now. Okay, so Python demo.py. So let me run the code, and you see that actually my greeting um, is something. It's an object, and it says it's a function, and it's inside the local of the greeting factory, and it got an ID there. So addresses, yeah, there. So yeah, it's a function object that we can pass around like any object, like it could be an instance that you create with a class, or it could be a string, it could be an integer you pass around, but also you can pass around a function. Um, so yeah, and actually we can look a little bit deeper into what's in my greeting. So before I run it, well, actually I can show you to run it first. So it's to show you that it works. So let me just call my greeting like a function, and put name will be Chuck. So yeah, so actually yeah, to make it more clear, the name is Chuck. Okay, so yeah, run it again. And yeah, so now it's like hello Chuck. So it works just like a function, even though I'm not calling greeting, but I store greeting as a result of this greeting factory in a variable, and this variable actually is a function, so I can call it just like any function. Okay, so we can look deeper into what's. I have some question there. So what is this? So you already know it's a function, and we can actually look a little bit deeper into what's in my greeting. So I can actually print out the dir of it. I think I have showed you the dir last week a little bit. So basically, what it is like, if you have an object or an like an instance that you created, then dir will show you what's attribute and methods is bind to this instance. So let's see what we have. And while we have quite a lot of things, one thing that is a kind of like a signature that tell you this object or instance is a function is that it got this dunder call and dunder method in it. So basically you can call it, I will show you in a bit, and it got all these other things that all instance would have, like the dog, that's the dog string, and other things as well. You need, yeah, some of them are quite standard, but what makes it a function is that it got a dunder call method. So what is a dunder call method? So what we can do here is that we could do my greeting, and we can actually do the dunder call. Oh, and we can just, this will actually, like, you can use it as a function because this is a function inside a function object. So this should give me the same result as before. This should give me hello Chuck. So I hope you're seeing it okay. It's a bit of a mess. Let me clear it out and run again. Oop. All right. So yeah, you can see that is a hello Chuck is there, and yeah, you can also see the other things. For example, if I add here that this is a function that print greeting. Right, so this is the doc string. Oops, sorry, it should be 3. Yeah, this is the doc string of the function, and if I print out, I print that out, it should be there as well. Let's comment this out because this is quite a messy thing. Okay, so let's print this out again. Yeah, so you see that it's print out the doc string, right? So yeah, so it's very standard, I would say. Nothing very special here, but things could get a little bit more tricky when we talk about decorator. When we dive deeper down the decorator, we'll see there's some tricks and troubles there. So Okay, so let's go back to the slide. So now we know what's my greeting. It's a function, and inside we have a brief look at what's inside. We use dir to have a look, and yeah, we got other stuff. So now, we like that was a kind of a a function factory that I talk about. It's not actually a decorator in the sense of like we use it every day. Like a Python decorator is more than that. It's more than what we did in the last slide. That's just as a start, So usually when we use decorator, we use it with a function. We modified a function. So for example, I have an example here that I have a greeting, but I want to spice it up with some tractor jokes. So I want to say like hello Chuck, and then give me a tractor jokes, right? So we have our function here, greeting. It was like what it was before, but also let me actually copy the script because like yeah, it's actually bigger when I copy it over here. So yeah, so we have the greeting, that's what we had before, and we have some we want to add some joke here, right? So let's write a factory that add the jokes, right? So this factory take in the greeting, take in the function. So a function is not just like it's not just we can return a function, we can also take a function as a parameter. So so you can take greeting as a parameter. So you can see that we can use it here inside. And we made a new function called better greeting. And it's just similar to greeting. It takes the name as a parameter. But instead of just calling greeting that print out the greeting, we also print out a tractor joke. So if I want to put a docstring here, I can put this is a function that's greet and told a joke. Okay, so and then I would return this better greeting instead of greeting because it's better. So I want this one instead. And so now we want to see so what's greeting, and then if I this is the tricky bit here, right? And we take a greeting and then we add the jokes and then we assign it back to greeting. So now this time I call greeting. It should be different, right? Yeah. So how about we try that out? We give it a try. Let's clear that mess. And okay, so you can see that the first time it runs is hello Chuck here. And then now we make it better. And then so when we call this greeting again is hello Chuck, and then give me the tractor jokes. How did the farmer find his missing cow? He tracked it down, right? Yeah. And so you can think of like it could be somehow useful if let's say I can actually have another greeting function here. So I just gotta spice things up a little bit. So secret, or special greeting. So it could work with anything, right? So it could work with a name, you know, and then so maybe I would have. Oh, the indentation is killing me again, because like it's a copy and paste from the other thing. So it's yeah, that's why it's funny. Okay, oop, nope. Okay. Yeah, but this time it's like this is more casual, so like sup, bro. Um, so just name. So it's like okay, this is calling me bro, but I don't mind. It's just like it's kind of try to be cool, but it's not that cool. Okay. And so actually I can do the same thing with special greeting, right? So let me just kind of comment these out. So just I can do it with special greeting. It's gonna be the same. I can I can add this add joke to any function that that is in a similar structure. that this time is that it still works like subbro, and it gives me the tractor jokes. So it still works, and or what else can I do? Or like you can even make it fancier by it's just randomly generate a joke instead of just one. Um, but I just want to show you that it works in with anything. So it it but there's a catch here that the thing is, how do I know that it's this better greeting taking a name as a as a parameter? Because it could be name, and it could also take the gender as well. Because like maybe like I don't want to sub-row if the gender is female. So like if gender equals to female, then I would say hey babe, it could be different, and a different greeting for it depends on the gender. It could be like that, and else, right? Then this one won't work because better greeting takes only the name. So this time it would actually cause us some problem because like if you run it now, then it's gonna give us an error because the argument doesn't work, doesn't match. So now like, or like here I just because it worked before, let's say special greeting, so it's like Chuck, and Chuck is if female, so my pronoun is she, so I would be like female here, let's say. And if I use it as the same way here, well, suppose it should be the same, right? Like this adding joke shouldn't change how I use my parameter here. But because I don't know, because greeting is name, but special greeting also take care of the gender, so this, yeah, it will still give me a problem. It works at the first, the first thing, when we call it the first time, it works. Hey babe is fine, but when we do it with when we add the decorator, it just doesn't work. It's not smart enough to know what argument it takes. So, so what should we do? But I will show you like later how we could handle that. But before that, I gotta move forward a little bit because now we're just like doing it by assigning it again. So we have this line, right? We have this line that special greeting equals to add jokes, adding jokes special greeting, but it's not actually how we write decorators in Python. In Python, we use decorator. I think most of you have already seen it somehow in some code, some Python code that actually is we have this add um, sign there. So you see from this example, actually we still write adding jokes as before. We would deal with that parameter problem later, but we still write that as before, but instead of assigning it again, which is not very Pythonic because it's not simple, it's not straightforward, it's a bit people overlook it. We just use an add, which is super nice when you think of like when you write a lot of code and it's actually quite easy to see what function being modified rather than you kind of hidden it like in those you see from my code. It's kind of easy to overlook that. So let's change this into our proper way of doing things. So these adding just this is our decorator, right? So let's put it on the side here, make it easier to see. So actually I can decorate this. So I can decorate this as adding jokes. So like Naomi said in her tutorial, this is a syntactic sugar. So it's actually doing the same thing as we did here, but when we write it like this, actually it's nicer to look at, and it's more Pythonic. And so this time, we don't have to do all this stuff. When we call special greeting, it should be just, okay, ignore special greeting for now because that one caused an error, right? So when you call greeting like this, it should just tell me the tractor jokes. So no, it's the normal greeting, hello, and tractor jokes. So let's try that. So let's clear this bit and run Python demo. Yeah, so it works just like before, that we have a greeting, and because we modified it with our decorator, so it changes it into a better greeting with the tractor jokes. Yeah. So so far, any question for now? Because like I just kind of rushed through a lot of information. So I love, by the way, I love the question in the chat, and probably the female. Yeah, the female is causing a problem here because it's taking two parameter here. So yeah, so this is not working. So because special greeting is expecting two parameter, but when we return adding jokes, here, when we return better greeting only take one parameter, so it doesn't work. And we have a way to work around it, and I will show you how to do that in Python. So actually, I go to the other slide because it will tell you what it does. And also there's other problems as well, because I want to show you a little bit here. So this is a function that, okay, so let me add back the docstring here, that this is a simple greeting. Okay, so we have different docstrings here. And so now if I look at greeting here, right, remember what decorator does. Decorator basically reassign this greeting function with the better greeting function. So what if now I looked at a so first of all, I look at the docstring. So greeting, no s. So what would that be? So we were expecting something like this here, right? So this is simple greeting, but if we run it, so this is a function that greets and tells a joke. So this is replaced by this docstring. So it's because we reassigned it like before. Let's go back to the previous slide here. Yeah, because we reassigned it, right? So it will be overwritten by the docstring. So actually, if we look at the name of it, so actually it tells me the name of the function is better greeting instead of greeting. So that's not what we want. Well, we could actually do something like better greetings, and then maybe before we return it, we can be like, okay, better greeting dot doc would be the same as the greeting doc. Well, we could do things like that. Try to fix it, and maybe the name as well. We can fix the name as well, and let's hope this work, right? Yeah, now we fixed the name because like I assigned it here. I fix it in my decorator, and also the doc here. It should also fix it now. Yep, but it still doesn't solve the problem that we had before. It still doesn't solve the problem that if I do if I do special greeting here, that if I do special greeting, and I'm expecting, because like usually you would you expect that after the decorators, the number of parameters won't change, right? So you're expecting that I can also have female here, right? And this one should work because the decorator shouldn't change that. This is not what people would expect, but it still doesn't work. So it still doesn't handle this for us. And this is very tedious. I don't like, there's more than just two things that I have to replace. There's other things. Remember when we run dir, there's so many things a function intrinsically has. So I don't want to do this manually. So there must be a better way to do this. There must be a better way to write a decorator because it's so popular in Python. it shouldn't be like this. So the way to do it is that we actually let's go to this slide. Yeah, so we actually have a decorator to help you to write decorators. So there's a little magic trick in FuncTools. It's called wraps. So wraps is a decorator itself, and wraps would work magic when you're writing decorators. So let's try implementing that, adding that in our code. Oops, sorry, wrong button. Right, okay, and let's use wraps. Okay, so instead of doing all this, which is not very smart, let's remove that, and let's say that I want to use this better greeting as a wrapper for greeting. So what I gotta do is that wraps, and then wraps will actually take a parameter itself. So remember all these actually um, all these decorators actually do um, take parameters. So sometimes it's not just the function itself. You could have more than that, right? So these wraps actually takes parameters as well. So this wrap, actually, let me look at the cheating code to make sure that yes, that's you have to put the greeting here. So now wraps knows that the following function is a wrapper for greeting. Okay. So now I don't have to worry about name or gender or whatever, because wraps will take care of it for me. And I just call greeting and no, actually here I would rather than putting name here, I would put a generic way of doing it. So I would just say that this better greeting, I don't know how many parameters or how many keyword parameters this would take. It depends on greeting, and I don't know what is greeting yet because it's a parameter for the decorator adding jokes. So what I gotta do is I gotta write it in a very generic way that it could take any amount of parameters, any amount of keyword arguments. So it would take any amount of args. Remember we have talked about that in functions, that this means that it just take any amount of arguments. And I think I've talked about these star keyword args here. Oh, that it takes an arbitrary number of keyword arguments. So this is how you write a function that would take in anything as a parameter. So I just because I don't know greeting, so I just write it as generic as possible and let wraps take care of it for me. Yep. So this is the trick of how you could pass in any amount of parameters. So let's try greeting first. Greeting is easier. So let's see if greeting works as um, as before. Like this is as before. We created this decorator. We use it on our greeting functions. Let's see. And yeah, it does work. And how about the docs of it? Whether the doc string is the correct doc string that we want. So let's have a look. I have to print it because it's a script. So yeah. Yep. So this is simple greeting. So it changes that for us. This is very nice. this is this help us to do all these things that I've done before, that reassign it back to this better greeting function. It just transfer all these metadata from greeting for us. And also we can look at name. It should be working, just to be sure, yeah, it's as if this is the same function, but we just modified it, right? Okay, so now how about we do special greeting? It still work for special greeting because this is different amounts of parameters. And can this decorator adding jokes deal with any function, like any functions with any Yes, it's a lifesaver. I agree. It's like magic. And when I learned about it, I was like, whoa, this is very handy. And it's funny about it is like it's a decorator itself as well. So that's the good thing about decorators. So special greeting, we can use it like what we try to check is female. Yes. Can we take two parameters now, please? And we run it. Yes, it does. It works perfectly. It just deal with all these arbitrary things for us. Um, in Naomi's tutorial last Friday, actually, she actually dived deeper into showing, you know, how, actually there's some, like those Thunder docs. It's actually have some, special attribute in the functions to tell you how many argument it takes and all this. But I ain't gonna dive so deep today. So if you're interested, go and watch Naomi's tutorial last Friday. It's still it's available on her Twitch, so you can go there and watch. Um, so yeah, so that's very cool and it's very nice. So that's kind of like the basics about decorators. Like I said, you can have a more complex decorator that take in arguments, but to be honest, I rarely write a decorator. Most of the time, I use a decorator. So this I see quite often. I use a decorator, but I rarely write a decorator myself. I rarely write it myself. You may come into some time that you write a decorator. So when is decorator useful? Um, so decorators can be useful when you do some authorization. There is, if you want to check whether that function can be run, there may be like some situation you want to check, with some maybe you have to take in a key to check whether that's correct before you run the function and all this. So you can use decorator to kind of wrap it up so it doesn't change how the function seems to look like. You see that, this is how, it looks exactly the same, right? Simple greeting, but we have modified it. So it's kind of handy. Um, Also, when you do testing, so that's why I want to cover decorators right after PyTest, because I realize there's a lot of things in PyTest I can't talk about, and yeah, because we're using decorators, and you may have a million questions like, what's that add thing there before the function? That's weird. That's a decorator, and like I said, most of the time I use decorator like in tests, and so I rarely need to write one to myself, but because there's already a lot of very nice decorator available in Python. So most of the time I just use it, but it's good to know how it works as well, because like otherwise you will have a million questions when you're using it. Um, so one other very common place you will find decorator is to do object-oriented programming kind of style of using Python. When you have these getter and setters, you want to make create a property, and you want to create getter and setter yourself. So this is kind of like a common practice in a lot of object-oriented programming. Um, that Python allows you to do that easily with these property decorators, and it's very cool because it kind of standardizes a way you can do that in Python, instead of people may write it in different ways that could you could do that like in if you don't use the property decorators, but it would it's it's it could make the code very difficult for different people to understand, because people just do it in various different ways. So I'm gonna spend some time in trying to write with the property decorators. Like I said before, that I don't write decorators that much. Actually, it's kind of it's something that like you may do it, but it kind of so far in my experience I don't came across them that much. So this example is like, for me, it's like kind of, it's just a good play around. It's it doesn't seem like anything very practical. Um, so but like property decorators, somehow like you will come across it quite often. So I would spend some time talking about that. And you see that the syntax is here. This is an example that I found somewhere. I didn't came up with it, but it's quite nice and standard, so that's why I took it. So let me go back to the slide so you can see it better. Yes. So you see that in we created a class that is a person. So this person have a lot of, have some attributes. So it got a hidden attribute. So remember Thunder is like hidden thing. We can't access it directly. So this name is actually hidden. But how can we change that? We can actually write a getter and setter to access it. So this is very object-oriented standard of doing things. And so to create this name as a property, and actually I would write some code to show you how this works in a bit. So to make this name work as a property, so this actually add property make this a setter, make this name a setter, and also it will create a property called name. So, oh sorry, it's a getter. Sorry, I was messing up. So setter is this one, name.setter. So for getter, you don't have to specifically say it's a getter, because it's more common to have a getter. Sometimes you even have properties that doesn't have a setter, because it's fixed maybe like when you initialize it, it's already fixed, so it would never get set. So you don't have a setter. So so getter is kind of like a standard. So add property is already a getter, and create a property called name, and it will just get you the hidden attribute name. Setter, just like you have to tell what is this setter is for. So you have to name.setter here. It could be the same name. I don't think that's matter too much here, because you already have the decorator here, and you just this is you take in a value and set it. You can just use it like well, you know what I mean in a bit. So you can just use it like a property. This is super cool. And also deleting it, you can you delete it, but before that you can print out something, or you can check maybe prompt a message saying like, are you sure? You can do that. And so let's copy this script and play around with it. So actually I do want to save this script, so let me file, make a duplicate, or save as something. So I save it as greeting with jokes. Yeah, sorry, I want to keep this. Yeah, I want to keep this so I could upload it afterwards for you. So okay, let's play around with this one, this new one. And so okay, I have this. So why do I do this? Like, why do I use this decorator? What's the difference? So now, so you can have a person. Let's say this is this is me. Is a person. Okay, I am a person. And so this is actually funny as well. This should be capital. I really don't like it being small case. It's fine. Okay, me is a person. So how about me dot name? Now it should have nothing, right? Because like I just created it, and even like if I do this, it should not work, because it's a hidden one. So let's check whether this work first to check that my point is correct. So yeah, it doesn't work because it's a thunder, so it's hidden. So it would just tell me that it doesn't have it because it's hidden. So no, it's not there. So you can't do it like this. So how about okay, me.name, does this work? So what will happen here? I got nothing. It's nothing here. So because when you initialize it, it's nothing. So you can actually like initialize it unknown. This is more obvious. So let's make it this way, and yeah, so unknown. So there's nothing, right? It's just initialize it. It do give me that value. So this is working. So this property, so this getter is working. It give me this value. But how about I want to change it to my name? So me.name, I can make it into check, right? Nope. So now if I print me.name, it should give me my name. So let's try. Yep. Now it changes. So this is actually calling the setter here. Change the name. So I can actually, to make it more clear, I can print calling setter here, right? So this I could also change it to calling getter to make it more obvious. So let's say I haven't done this yet. So what I gotta actually I can also do this, just print out all the steps so you know what's going on. So creating person, okay, and now if I do this, and first of all you will create a person, and now I just print the name, it will call the getter, and it's unknown, so it's unknown, okay. And if I do this now, then what's happening is that I create a person. First, this one is calling the setter, right? And then this one print will call the getter, and then call the getter, and then it will give me the name. So this is how all these decorator works. And how about if I delete it? So now I want to delete me.name. So what will happen here is that actually I would actually delete this attribute as well, so it won't exist anymore. So this is quite a strange thing to do. I rarely do the deleter, but I can see this could be useful. Like for example, if someone deleting something, you want to reconfirm it, then it would be useful, right? And oops, sorry, I'm not showing the terminal. Okay, so sorry about that. Yeah. So it didn't. Yeah, because I'm looking at like a lot of screens. So okay, so this is the deleter. Sorry, and yeah, I would go back a little bit to talk about the other thing that I did before. But this is I'm deleting it, so it should call the deleter here, right? And oops, so let me clear this first. Okay. So yeah, you can see that I've changed the code, so now it should show all the steps that we are doing here. And yeah, actually I want to buy another screen so I can show what I'm showing you. So I won't make those mistakes. It's like common mistake that I made. Okay, so it's like calling that so it's creating the person for the first line here, creating the person, and calling the setter here. So when I do this, I'm actually calling the setter. Yeah. So now, and it's not deleting myself. So type error missing one. Oh, yeah, because like this is taking a value which is very very strange. I don't know why, but well, we can do that like that, I think. Um, it's very strange because like I don't know why it takes a value here, so maybe it's not a yeah, now it's deleting, so I don't know why that one has a value there. I don't know what is the use for that, but I deleted it. So yeah, so when you delete it, it will call the deleter here, okay? So what I've shown before actually is just like I show you all these steps of creating and creating this. So show you all the steps of what this is doing. So I have a little bit of time left for yeah. Yeah, it's like because like I'm showing when I'm coding, I'm looking at the code and I'm not looking at what I'm showing in the screen. So when I kind of try to like check, it's like too late. Anyway, um, so okay, so I gotta show you. I think before we end, I gotta show you um, to write some, using some properties. I can't think of any exercise to write the decorator. Like I said, I rarely write it. I only think of silly examples like the tractor jokes with the greeting. So, but I think because we do have a very cool, e-commerce simulator before, maybe we could see if we can wrap it with some properties. So what I gotta do is I gotta check our e-commerce example before. Yeah, I gotta copy this script, copy it, and paste it here. Yeah, paste, paste. Yeah. So this is what we have written 2 weeks ago. Last week we write some tests for this one, but this week I'm thinking about like for this some of this name and address we can also create some, getter and setter in it. So so for ID we don't have, actually for ID we don't have any setter, because it's generated. It shouldn't be changed. So this is a good example. I think this is more like a practical example, so that's why it's good to modify this script. So first of all, make all these internal, so nobody's gonna call it, right? So make all this hidden, the address content as well. So and so maybe instead of using these add items, so maybe I could add item directly in the content. Yeah, maybe I could try that. So I'm thinking like really ahead, but let's just do it like bit by bit. So and first of all, okay, so this is let's change this name. First of all, let's make this ID a property. So I can check the ID back. I can have a getter, but not the setter. So what I gotta do is that I could maybe create an object property right after the init, so I can have property, and then I could have ID that actually need to be self, that actually give me back return self dot ID. So this is very simple, and it should be all the same for the other things, but we could but those will need a setter as well. So yeah, why this is indented so funny. No, that's yeah. Oops. Maybe I should just yeah this. So this is the name. Mm-hmm. And name here, and I also need the setter, so remember it's name.setter, and this one doesn't care. I just match it with name, and I will take a value this time, and I could actually make it fancy. So if name, the type of name is not a string, then I could raise an error, raise value error that name need to be a string, right? So this is how you generate your own error. Okay. So otherwise we could set the value. So we could be self dot name equals to value. Okay. Okay, this one I could input. This is like I don't want to use value for everything. Okay. It's input. So okay, let's try the name first, right? So so for example, I have my basket, but here before I add item, I was like, I want to put my full name, so my basket dot name. I want to make it into check. So I want to put my full name instead of just check, right? So see if that works, or it will give me an error. Okay, so we could clear that out and Python eshops.py. Oh, there is some error. Name is not defined. I think yeah, this should be input. Sorry. Yeah, all these naming things is kind of getting me a bit sometimes. Okay, and it's not actually. Oh yeah, this I shouldn't run this yet because I haven't fixed this yet. So let's let's just check the name. Just check the name. Okay. Well, this should work as well. I have the getter. So okay, let's try that. Yep. Now the name of my basket is my full name. Or I can change the name of it by having the setter, and I can print it out again by having a getter. Yeah, so this is correct. I can actually print out the ID as well if I want to know and see what's that, and it's 1. That's what I am expecting, which is good. And yes, because it's starting with 1, right? So if there's nothing, then I'll be the first customer. Okay, And all these need to have a getter and setter. Address would be the same as name, so I just gotta copy the code and just change everything. Just gotta copy the code and yeah, or like you can do something more fancy with the address. You can check, have more sophisticated checks, checking like all the address need to have is to be a correct address, with let's say maybe the postcode needs to be correct and things like that. But I'm not doing it here. It's just an example, and this one is address. But yeah, you could actually like do something more fancy. You can have an API to check whether that postcode matches with that address. If there's some service you could use to do that. But yeah, now the address should work as well. So let's say, so I would be, instead of 123 Wellington Street, I would be in 234 Wellington Street. Okay, so see if that works. Actually, like we should keep the test and like test it, like write test to test it, and yeah. Actually, like yeah, why I didn't? Yeah, I should also keep the test. What test did I write before? Let me check what's going on last week, because I think we didn't check those. And sorry, I'm just very very curious. Okay, yeah, we just checked the add items, so we didn't check. Yeah, we didn't check whether those getter and setter because we just added it today. So maybe the homework for you is to adding the test for these decorators, these getter and setters. So maybe that's the homework. I didn't assign any specific homework this week, but I think that's a good exercise. All these code I will upload it so you can check it and write the test for that. So, okay. So right, and you can see that this is very tedious, like testing it one by one. So it's good to have a write the test for this. But I didn't last week, so I don't have those tests. I only have tests for these functions. Okay, so content now is hidden. So what we can do with content, let me think. So content now is hidden. You can only add items, and but I'm thinking since since we have the getter and setter, so what we're gonna do is that so the getter should be just getting it. Whoa, okay. The getter should be just getting it, right? So it shouldn't be fancy. So maybe content would be and self. Oop. So maybe what I gotta do is that it will just print out maybe something to make it nicer. So in the basket there is and I can print out for content for item in content that I could have print item, so I can print it out and then I would return the list. So I have to use self.content as well. So yeah, so I could also return it, so you could assign it to something, but it would just print out for me so I can preview what's inside, right? This is the getter. So this time if I let's say I add item, so let's say if I printed my basket of content. So if now I just do maybe let's say the content equals to my basket dot content, it should call the getter and print those out for me and assign that list into the content. Okay, let's see what is that true. Okay, and yes, so now because I've toilet paper is added to the basket, and then when I try to access what's inside the content, it will just print out the preview for me here. And oh, it's still printing the address, so ignore that. And in the basket there is, or there are toilet paper, so it should be there are. Grammatically incorrect because there's multiple items most of the time. We'll just use the plural here. Okay, And yeah, so this is quite cool. And we also can have the setter. So if I just set the content in a, so we just let it overwrite the content. If I figure it out that if I make a why am I copying this? I should just copy whatever, like yeah, yeah, it should be content the setter, and this one input. So input needs to be a list this time. So content need to be a list, and this time I will just let the user overwrite it. So this is like if I swap a basket, is a handy shortcut to just instead of add item, I just replace the whole basket, the content of the whole basket. So yeah. Okay, so if I want to overwrite it, instead of just calling the add item, I can just do my basket of content is I have, let's say, coffee beans inside. Oop, yeah, and toilet paper. Like everybody loves toilet paper. Toilet papers. Okay, so let's see if that works. Oh, there's some mistake there. Can't set. Oh, can't set attribute. Oh, maybe. That's very interesting. And maybe I have to put the list because input is no, it's a list. Why? This is very interesting. Let me think. Content is this. So attribute. This is the setter. Oh, maybe. Oh, yeah. I messed up the name here. Maybe that's why. Yep, I messed up the name. Sorry. Okay, and let me take this out because this is very annoying. Okay, so. Oh, okay. Yep. Oh, in the basket there's nothing. Why? Basket. Content. The setter is running. Oh, because I spelled it wrong. Sorry about that. So many mistakes there. Okay, so now there's coffee bean and toilet papers. So yeah, so this is how we write code with getter and setters. I think this is fairly fun, but like I said, it would be better if we have a test for all these new things that's added. So I would leave this code with you as homework, I think. Um, sorry, this is a bit of a messy thing, but yeah, I would just upload this code, the demos, this one, greeting with jokes, and the eShop, and this one is just a playground. I won't upload this, but this two I will upload it, and you can have it. And I recommend you to take it, download it and play around with it. And that's the homework for this week. It's kind of a bit easier this week because there's no specific homework, but I would suggest you play around with those code. So yeah, today we finished within an hour. I don't know how, but I think because I keep it quite short. I just touched like decorators is is there. It's like very common. Um, is I think I would cover the use case more when I cover the test, uh, like in the future. But there's isn't something specific that I can think of to let you play around with. So yeah, so that's it for today. It's a very easy Sunday, and in the UK tomorrow is holiday. Actually, I just know it yesterday. So I just sort of keep it nice day. And for next week, what we're gonna do is that we would talk about string methods and regex. Yeah, so regex is a regular expression, and so it's kind of very useful. So mainly the thing that I'm gonna talk about next week would be how to manipulate strings in Python. There's a lot of built-in function I will cover. There's also this regex, which is RE, which is a standard library. So it's something, again, it's a battery included. So it's come with your Python. You can use it. You don't have to install it. And we gotta explore how to use it to solve some task that's gonna help you in some ways. And in June, because next week is the last week in May, so in June I'm thinking about doing like I'll call it a testing month. So just recently I'm like kind of working quite a lot in things that is related to testing and testing libraries. So I want to dedicate a month for testing. That I gotta there'll be like 4 Sundays that I gotta cover different tests suites. Including PyTest. I gotta go deeper into PyTest. So last week is just a brief introduction, and also I gotta cover other libraries like Hypothesis, Talks, all these useful libraries in June. So I think that would be quite exciting. Yay! Yes. So I hope you would like it. And I'm still thinking about like doing a separate series for data science C thing, but I need some planning because that would be a huge amount of work. It won't be just like a couple of series. It would be like I hope it's gonna be a continuous thing. So need more planning on that. But this tutorial is dedicated to Python, still going on every Sunday, 2 p.m. So I will see you next week. So thank you so much. See ya. Bye.